Nice translation. Note of death. Death
使い
note.
方
Dude, how many... He's just killing people left and right, dude. Jeez. Because with his binary, very black and white, all or nothing perspective, this distorted cognitions of the worldview, what he doesn't get is, and what he doesn't think about, is this transformations and the power of change and healing. Hello friends, my name is Benoit Kim, a psychotherapist and educator. Welcome to the first episode of my new reaction series, Death Note.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
I'm extremely excited about this because of how complex the show is. And of course, I've heard a lot about this show growing up as a 90s baby. And also as a forensic psychotherapist, I will try to create a psychological profiling of Light Yagami, given his God complex tendencies and some of the antisocial behaviors he will be exhibiting in the show, interpret the role of Ryuk, the god of death, and much, much more. This video is sponsored by Assassination Zero and Tier Tanas, our new sponsor tier. And also, exciting news, Monster will also be sponsoring this episode. Psych, just kidding, I wish. They're way too big of a company. But what is not a fake news is that I know this show is a monster of a classic. And also, I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing the transformation of Light Yagami from an innocent, high-functioning, and very intellectual high school student who's also nihilistic to and slowly descending into a monster with this moral disengagement and deterioration. So, shout out to the best patron family, and without further ado, let's tune in. Alright, let's go. What is this? The realm of death where Ryuk resides, looks like. Very desolate. Looks horrifying. Yep, this must be realm of death. Shinigami realm. Ryuk looks terrifying. What are these, reapers? What was he looking at? See? Parallel, same eyes right there. Sick transition. He's a high school student, looks like.
神の教えに従うべし。さすれば海の恵みは豊かになる。嵐はやってこないだろう。
I'll be making frequent pauses since this is the first episode and I don't have the tempo or grasp with this show, just like I have with Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, or Violet Evergarden. It's very interesting even how they kickstart the episode. We see that Light Yagami, presumably a high school student, is translating a sentence. And what is that sentence about? God. And again, just like the intro scene, I think it's already foreshadowing what's to come, which is Light Yagami's God complex and Savior complex. A lot of parallels already. And also the music is very holy, it's very biblical, like almost like a religious experience with this background music. Crazy start. Homicide, we're seeing crimes, the rotten nature of this world, I'm guessing. The juxtaposition between God and also crimes, the criminal activities, the rotten side of this world.
毎日毎日同じことの繰り返し。
まったくくだらねえ。
この世は
腐ってる。
Even the title of this episode is Rebirth, which of course foreshadows the rebirth of Light Yagami. Again, like I said, going from this high-functioning intellectual high school student to who he himself deemed as, I guess, a savior, a god, I'm sure after he acquires the power or the forbidden fruits of Death Note. But we're seeing this, I guess, similar and congruent perspective of Ryuk, god of death, and Light Yagami saying the same thing. This world is so rotten. And of course, with rebirth comes destructions before the renewal. So we'll see how this rebirth gets to unfold. Since, of course, I heard about this show and I did my research before this, but I'm very curious to see how the plot actually unfolds. Here comes the notebook, Death Note. Of course, Light Yagami is the only one that saw. Or was it intended by Ryok, god of death? No one else saw this except Light Yagami. As if it's fate.
デスノート直訳で死の
Nice translation. Note of death. Death
使い
note.
方このノートに名前を書かれた人間は死ぬくだらない
Oh, he's not gonna pick it up? He's
病んでる
skeptical, huh?
不幸の手紙から全然進歩しちゃいない何が名前を書かれた人間は死ぬ
What's a chain letter? He looked back, which I'm guessing after initial skepticism, he probably went back and picked it up. One thing we do know about high school students is they're very curious. So I'm guessing he went back and picked up the book. And can we talk about how user-friendly Death Note is? It has the exact name, which denotes the exact meaning of this book with a purpose. And there's a user manual. The name that's written shall die. So it's very, very user-friendly. So a shout out to Ryok for making this as seamless and as easy as possible for Light Yagami. And I just had a train of thought with the power of Monster and super caffeinated brain. Here's my prediction, I could be completely wrong. I think Ryok, god of death, represents this amoral character, observer, as a fate. And just like the faithful encounter of Death Note falling from the sky, aka from Ryok, and the only person who saw it was Light Yagami. So this is like this chance, faithful encounter. So I think Ryok, I don't think he's this bad or good character. I think he truly is amoral. He doesn't have the intent to harm or guide anyone. I think he just is an unbiased outside observer at this god entity. But I could see the strings of fate already happening since the get-go.
まったくどうかしてるな
He picked that up, see?
各人物の顔が頭に入っていないと効果はない同姓同名の人物にいっぺんに効果は得られない
Oh, interesting.
名前の後に人間界単位で40秒
So
以
there's
内
no
に死因を
chance
書
of
く
miskill.
とその通りになる
Very
書か
thought
なければ
out and thoughtful.
死因はすべて心臓麻痺になる死因を書くとさらに6分40秒詳しい死の状況を記載する時間が与えられる
So you have to be very specific. Okay.
楽に死なせたりいたずらもここまで手が込んでくるとまあまあかな
It would be very intricate if it were a prank.
名前を書くと死ぬ本当にくだらない
Still ongoing skepticism. I mean, I'll be skeptical too. Like, what? Oh, see, the curiosity wins.
待てよ万が一本当に死んだら僕は殺人犯かまさかなそんなわけあるはずない
昨日新宿の繁華街で6人もの人を
Damn,
殺傷した
someone
男は
killed 6 people?
今なお
Jeez.
幼児と保育士8人を人質にこの保育園
Oh,
に
yikes.
警視庁は
Horrible
犯人
criminal.
を音原田九郎無職42歳と断定説得を開始する模様です
So convenient. As soon as he's contemplating, a person shows up on TV. That's a perfect fit.
だったな
今のところよく分かっておりません以上現場からお伝えしました
ありがとうございました。
早い解決を望みますね。
やっぱり何も起こらないま
Has it been 40
当たり
seconds?
前か
あ、ちょっと待ってください。
お
動きがあったようです。
ちょっと待って。
人質が出てきました皆無事のようです入れ替わるように機動隊が突
It
入
worked.
犯人逮捕でしょうか情報が入りました犯人は
Yo, heart attack. Exactly 40 seconds.
死亡
機動隊は射殺したのではないと強調しております
We see that Light Yagami is shocked. Makes sense.
それが
He's in
その証言
disbelief.
では
心臓麻痺
Yo.
いや偶然に決まってる
Coincidence? What are the freaking odds, bro?
デスノートでも万一これが本物だとしたらもう一度試してみる価値はあるそうなるとやはり犯罪者か
So quick pause. A few things that's significant has happened. So we see, here's my, I guess, pre-Death Note psychological profiling of Light Yagami as a forensic psychotherapist. Part of my job is to create psychological profiling of my clients, who are, a lot of them are core mandated. That's why I'm a forensic psychotherapist and my full-time job. So Light Yagami is a high school student. He's seemingly very intelligent, which can be viewed by the teacher calling him out to translate the text in the earlier scene out of everyone. So we can see that he's a role model student. Second, he's seemingly nihilistic, which means he finds no meaning in life. We see his monologue of this world the same old every day. It's rotten. So he's highly intelligent, very high functioning. He's nihilistic, and he has this very high moral compass per his perspective, being very judgmental of the rotten nature of this world. And he was initially skeptical about this Death Note, and after he wrote the specific details which caused a heart attack in exactly 40 seconds, as the Death Note explains, he was shocked. We could see the, sparkling or the disbelief in his eyes. So he was indeed in shock, which means that he's not psychopathic or sociopathic by nature. Because if you're a sociopath by nature, which is about 1.9% of human populations, meta-analysis information right here, you have no remorse, no empathy, no positive air quotes human emotion. So we see that Light Yagami is not a psychopath genetically by nature. So it's probably more acquired, or he has some traits without being full blown. Because just because you have some traits doesn't mean you actually have the disorder of psychopathy or sociopathy. But then he says something very interesting. He's like, if this is true, I have to try it one more time, which denotes some of his traits. Because if it was a regular person who has zero sociopathic tendencies, if I found out that what I did just now killed, sure, it's a murderer, it's a horrible criminal. But if I killed someone, there's no way I'll try it again, right? Would you kill someone again even though they're a criminal? Probably not. So we're seeing some sociopathic tendencies, or clinically speaking, ASPD, Antisocial Personality Disorder, definition right here. So in the real world, to be even eligible for ASPD diagnosis, you have to have oppositional defiance disorder, definition right here, ODD. You have to have ODD in your profile and chart to be eligible for ASPD, Antisocial Personality Disorder. So he doesn't have ODD. So we will never be able to give him an actual antisocial personality disorder, which is colloquially known as sociopathy or sociopath, clinically speaking. Second thing I want to say is it's interesting that the Death Note is designed for the user, in this case Light Yagami, to confront the individual with specific details. A, for the reason of preventing miskilling, so they don't kill the wrong person. Second, I think Yoke, the god of death, designed this book specifically so the user, in this case Light Yagami, has to confront the individual person almost face to face, because you're writing with so many specific details in order to cause that person to die through the power of Death Notes. Light Yagami has to confront his moral dilemma, his moral struggle, every time he writes someone with the intention of killing someone. So I think that's another intricate details. And the last thing I'll say to close on my analysis is I realized the moment I found out his name is Light. Do you realize the dichotomy of his name? Light, which means what? This godly, this holiness, the positivity, the renewal, life. Because there's no life without light. But what is he doing? He just killed someone, which is dark, which is Carl Jung, definition right here, Jungian shadow archetype. Every light has its darkness, and darkness is not the opposite of light, but rather darkness is the absence of light. So I think even the way authors wrote this show named this main character Light Yagami very intentionally, because as someone whose name is Light, a role model, highly intelligent student, he is nihilistic about this rotten world, and he's exhibiting dark shadow archetypes by already committing a murder by utilizing the power of Death Notes. So this is my baseline personality or psychological profiling of Light Yagami. So I'm going to do another psychological profiling of Light probably towards the end of the show, once I see more characteristics and more, antisocial tendencies displayed by Light Yagami. And bear with me, I'm talking a little bit fast because I'm very, very caffeinated. And this show is, it's happening really, really fast, which I really enjoy.
あまり大物でもまずい。たとえ死んでも、その事実をしばらく隠される可能性
Good
がある。
point. So he's very
すぐ
intelligent,
に
like I
結果が
said.
欲しい。
2000円でいいから貸してよ。
Bullies.
須藤、殺してみるか。
Damn.
身近な人間はなるべ
He's
く避
thinking
けた
about
方が
killing
いい
his
な。
classmates. Bullies aside.
そんな気にすることもないか。どうせあんな奴の一人や二人、死んでも誰も何も思わない。
So has he decided to kill his bully classmates? You see what I mean? He's exhibiting sociopathic or sociopathic tendencies already.
こうなるとどい
Thinking
つも
about
こい
killing
つ
his
も
classmates without a
殺した
second
方
thought.
が世の中のためになるやつばかりに見えてくる。
Oh, more kill. Oh, he's gonna kill more people.
さすがたくさん、すんげえ美人ゲット。俺、渋い丸タクを略して渋タク。
He found out about the full name.
付き合ってよ、素敵なお姉さん。やばい。ならめくって逃して全部。
He's doing this in the middle of the street? What is going on, dude? What? No one's stopping? What time is this? Yep, he's gonna start. Yo.
どうなる？
He's about to kill like 7, 8, 9 people. He's about to commit mass murder.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
決まりだ。デスノート、本物だ。
He just killed that group of bikers in front of him. So, quick pause. I want to talk about moral disengagement theory by Albert Bandura right here. So, moral disengagements means people who commit amoral or horrible deeds and acts by justifying their rationale, by tweaking and modifying their moral compass to justify their acts. Like Hitler, Stalin, a lot of horrible dictators and terrorists and radicalists, they do this. They commit moral disengagements by justifying mass murders or whatever horrible things they're about to do through, I'm doing this for God, I'm doing this so I can be a martyr, whatever reasons. That's called moral disengagements. We just witnessed the process of moral disengagements, very intricately so, that Light Yagami engaged in. After he thought about killing his first bully classmate, he's like, no, I shouldn't kill anyone that's close to me. But then we see his justification in his mind. The cognitive dissonance, definition right here. When two of your beliefs are conflicting with each other, we call that cognitive dissonance. He was going back and forth. But then moral disengagements kicked in, and he justified saying that the world will not miss people like him, and I'll be doing society a justice by getting rid of people like him, a bully. And then he committed, I don't know how many names he wrote down exactly, but we do know that there were, I think, 3 or 4 bikers who were immediately killed through a car accident. And we saw that, yes, he was in shock again. Because this time, unlike the kidnapper he killed through heart attack through TV screen, he witnessed the actual tragedy and death of those people caused by him in front of his eyes. So this time it was a more shocking confrontation. And we saw the shock in his eyes because he froze. So again, he's not fully sociopathic. At the same time, he is displaying numerous antisocial traits. So let me share really quick here. So like I said earlier, ASPD, which is colloquially called sociopathy or sociopathic disorder, there are a few criteria, generally speaking. So 1, egocentric moral. What that means is they are navigated by their strong sense of air quote moral, even if it's delusional or distorted. 2, many of them carry grandiosity or grandiose tendencies, like savior complex, God complex. They think they're above everyone else. We call that a grandiose delusion. Light Yagami, he hasn't exhibited that yet, but I think we're going to see that. Because imagine as a high schooler, who your cognitive development is not fully complete. As of 16, 17, 18-year-olds. For men, our brains are not fully developed until we're about 25 years old. For women, they develop more mature and faster than men, generally speaking. As a high schooler, if you're equipped and acquire such an immense, unspeakable power truly the power of God of death, it will get to your ego, of course. It will inflate your ego. So that's one of the criterias for ASPD that we're seeing Light Yagami display. Instrumental aggression. We see that, I don't have to explain that, right? He just killed, 5, 6, 7 people. And lastly, ability to be deceptive and planning. So if you're just impulsively killing someone or having this impulsive aggression, you're not a sociopath necessarily. You could be, but people with ASPD, Antisocial Personality Disorder, they're more methodical. There's methods and planning and intent, which we see that almost full-blown with Light Yagami. So it's very interesting that we're seeing his antisocial or sociopathic tendencies, which are acquired through death notes, coming out more and more with that. And so I'm very interested we're already seeing this crazy psychological transition of Light Yagami, who was just this seemingly nihilistic but intelligent high schooler, slowly descending into this amoral or dismoral behaviors through this concept of moral disengagement. Very, very interesting. A lot of concepts. The human whose name is written in this note shall die. Okay? The first rule of Death Note. How to use it. Personal face in their mind. You see what I mean? Direct confrontation. This show is crazy. Nice hearing. Oh, I guess these are all different gods of death. Oh, look at those wings. Kind of look like wings of raven.
Hey, Ron. Hey, Billy.
You can just drop into human world just like that. That's convenient. So some of the archetypes in storytelling is weather and storm, right? When it rains, it usually symbolizes sorrowfulness, sadness. But in this case, we start a lightning and a storm, which I think represents and symbolizes emotional turmoil, dramatic transformation from sunny to rain and lightning of Light Yagami. So I think even the weather portrayal is representing the psychological transformation of Light Yagami. Again, going from this seemingly innocent high school student to someone who's going to further develop his God and Savior complex and slowly descending into very dismoral and almost like I guess he is a murderer, becoming homicidal by justifying that his actions are moral and he's doing air quote society a deed or a favor. So even the weather is very symbolic.
早かったわね、ライト。あ、ただいま。母さん。全国模試の結果ね。早く。
We see that he has no remorse, which is another trait of sociopath or ASPD.
頑張ったわね、ライト。
Number 1, yep, highly intellectual.
勉強するから邪魔しないでね。
No remorse, he's pretending as if nothing is wrong, just another day. After killing however many people he kills, his ASPD is getting more pronounced.
欲しいものは手に入った。
God damn! Look at that sinister, evil smirk. Dude, how many pages has he written? Dude. Egocentric moral development, like I said. Whoa, that scared me. I would shit myself if I saw that. In the stormy weather, in the dark. Ryuk revealed himself.
もうそれがただのノートじゃないって分かってるんだろ。
死神か。
Shinigami, which means God, I think.
驚いてないよ、リュウク。待ってたよ、リュウク。
What? How? Why?
僕はすでに死神のノートを現実だと疑って。
Yo, there are folklore or rumors about this.
ますます確信を持って。
Oh, there's legends about Shigami notebooks.
お前には驚かされるぜ。
Light is very, very
過去に
smart.
デスノートが人間界に出回った話は 俺も何度か聞いたことが
Oh,
あっ
it's
た
not the
が
first time.
たった5日でここまでやったのはお前が初めてだ
How many people did he
涙
kill?
ビビってここまで書けない
We're seeing sociopathic or
僕は
ASPD
死
traits
神
more
の
and
ノー
more.
ト僕はどうなる魂を取られるのか
なんだそれ人間の作った勝手なイメージか俺はお前に何もしない人間界の地についた時点でノートは人間界のものになるつまりそいつはもう
What?
お前のものだ
The ownership changed?
僕のもの
いらなきゃ他の人間に回せその時はお前のデスノートに関する記憶だけ消させてもらう
Interesting.
じゃあ本当にデスノートを使った代償って何もないんだな
そのノートを使った人間にしか
There is a
訪れない
price.
苦悩
You're
や恐怖
descending into this moral sociopath.
そしてお
That
前
is a
が死んだ
huge
時
price.
俺がお前の名前を俺のノートに書くことになる
Karma. Karma,
デス
dude.
ノートを使っ
What
た
goes
人
around
間
comes
が
around.
天国や地獄に行けると思うなそれだけだ
You'll spend eternal death and purgatory, not
死
heaven or
んで
hell.
からのお楽しみだ
Wow. Dude, that's eternal suffering.
大丈夫だ出てみろ
Would you guys use death notes?
リンゴ持ってきたわよ。
Knowing all this,
お
would you
隣
use
さん
it?
から何こんな暗くして目悪くするわよ。
どういうことだ
Oh, she can't
母さんには見
see.
えていないの
Yoke.
か
Only the user can.
そのノートはもとも
Wow.
と俺が持っていたものだそれを使うことになったお前だけが俺の姿を見
You
る
see
こ
those
とがで
apples?
き
The
る
forbidden
も
fruits
ちろ
of
ん食え
power.
ばうまい
じゃあもう一つ聞くけどなぜ僕を選んだおい聞いてるのか
He loves apples.
すごいぜ人間界のリンゴは
Who likes apples? Apples are pretty tasty.
ジューシ
質問に答えろよ
Juicy.
ー選んじゃいない俺はただノートを落としただけだ賢い自分が選ばれたとでも思ったのか
Oh, it wasn't faithful encounter. I mean, it was faithful encounter,
たまた
but
ま
he
この
wasn't
辺りに
chosen.
落ち
It was a
たまたま
chance
お前が拾
encounter.
ったそれだけのことだ
Ah.
だから人間界で一番ポピュラーな英語で説明をつけたんだぜ
じゃあなぜ落とした
Oh.
丁寧に使い方まで書いて
なぜかって退屈だったから
Wow.
退屈
実際今の死神ってのは暇でね下手にデスノートに名前なんて書いてると何頑張っちゃってるのって笑われる死神界のやつをノートに書いても死なないかといって自分は死神界にいる
He
のに
can't kill
人間
other
界のやつを殺しても面白くもなんともないこっちに来る方が面白いと俺は踏んだ
Wow. He's just bored.
それ
Purely
に
out
し
of
ても
boredom.
随分名前書いたなしかしなんでダンプにはねられたやつしか死因を書いてないんだ
死因を書かなければ皆心臓麻痺で死ぬそこがデスノートの一番いいところだよリュウク
Dude, he's hella smart. He already figured out
す
the
でに主だっ
rules.
た犯罪者の名前は書き尽くし
それが何だと言うんだ
どんなバカでも悪人が誰かに消されているってことに気づくだろ
Hmm.
世の中に知らしめるんだ僕の存在を
Yo,
正義の
God
裁きを下
complex.
す者がいるってこと
Grandiosity. Right there. That's what I mean.
正義の裁きを下してどうするつもりだ
僕も退屈だったから
It's a nihilistic trait I talked
もちろん
about.
最初は信じなかった人間なら誰でも一度は試してみたくなる魔力がある
Is it
して
Mario?
しまった
Or is it just curiosity
二人
and
もこの僕が命だ軽いはずがない僕に勝手に人を裁く権利があるのかいや違ういつも思ってたことじゃないか世の中腐っている
this is a flashback? So he did contemplate and struggle very briefly.
誰かがやらなくてはいけないんだ自らの精神や命を犠牲にしてでも
Oh, so he is aware of the cost of using Death
もし
Note,
他の誰かが
sacrificing
この
one's
ノートを拾っ
conscious
た
and
とし
life.
てこの世に不必要な人間を消すことのできる奴がいるかいるわけがない、でも僕なら僕にしかできないんだやろうデスノートで世の中を
You
変
see
え
the
てやる
transformation. Quick pause before this very dramatic scene. So I'm seeing quite a few psychological concepts and symbolism in that long, I guess, dialogue between Light Yagami and Yoke, god of death. So he was asking, I was not chosen. It cannot be a mistake. And Yoke said, what, you thought I chose you because you're smart? No, I just dropped it. I've written in the most popular language, which is English, and you happen to pick it up. That's grandiosity. Light Yagami, because of his intelligence, he puts himself in a very, very high pedestal. I'm chosen. This notebook is meant for me. I'm meant to be the user, and I'm meant to pick up this death note out of everyone. I am chosen, right? Savior complex and God complex. But the truth is that was not the case. Ryuk, this observer, like I denoted earlier and predicted, he is an amoral character. He's just an observer. No one else can see him except Light, because they're bound by the Death Note user, whatever agreements. So no one else can see it. He was just bored. He has no, I guess, ill intent, but maybe he has some psychopathic voyeurism. Definition right here. Psychopathic voyeurism is usually used in very sexual, predatory way in the forensic world. But for Ryuk, it's not sexual. He's just bored. I think he represents both fate and chaos. And he's just bored. He wants to see, let's see what the human world does with this Death Note. Because he can't kill other gods, or there's no point for them to wipe out human souls because they all end up in the realm of death. So that's one. It's a very concrete example of Light Yagami's grandiosity. Second, we're seeing identity formation. Definition right here. We're seeing a new identity forming by Light Yagami. He is letting go, or maybe it's like dual identity. In one side, there's Light Yagami, this highly intelligent, right, #1 student, high school student. And the other side, he deemed himself as a savior by wiping out and decreasing the population of evil people. That's two. And this reminds me of another clinical diagnosis, definition right here, DID, dissociative identity disorder, or formerly known as multi-personality disorder. All right, we've seen a lot of movies like that. A recent movie I've seen was Split, right here, Split. That's when individuals have multiple personalities with very distinct and different behavior patterns, even thoughts, memories, and so on. But we changed that recently in DSM-5 to DID, dissociative identity disorder. Not in the clinical sense that Light Yagami displays DID, but more in the sense that he is upholding two different personalities, two different behavior patterns, model high school students and this self-deemed savior of the world, by committing mass murders, by eradicating who he deems as evil or bad. So we're seeing a lot of traits and behaviors that further qualifies Light Yagami for ASPD. Of course, I don't think we have enough clinical data to give him an ASPD diagnosis, but he definitely lacks remorse. He definitely is committing a lot of antisocial behaviors, and he has that grandiosity and narcissistic personality traits, which often co-occurs with ASPD. So I think with enough data so far, I'm gonna give him a ruling or hypothesis of ASPD, but I'm sure we will continue to see his traits further developed the longer he uses to kill more people using Death Notes. And the last thing I'll say is we see that Light Yagami is very attracted to power. And we're also seeing a shift in Light Yagami's shift of locus of control. Definition right here. There's two things. There's internal locus of control and external locus of control. Internal locus is what we can do, what we can control. External is the world, politics, the things we cannot control. We're seeing Light Yagami going from in the beginning, who is helpless and who is seemingly powerless with external locus of control, through comments like, this world has always been the same, just another day. It's rotten, but there's nothing he can do. He's just a smart high school student. To now, he's embracing and shifting into internal locus of control by being the air quotes savior of the world, by becoming almost possessing the power of God of death himself. So his internal locus of control is very, very inflated to the highest grandiose level. Because why? He's killing so many people with his very, very distorted and very wrong, but to his perspective, this morally disengaged perspective, he is trying to save the world by eradicating evil people. Wow, there's so many concepts in this show. Dude, how many? He's just killing people left and right, dude. Jeez. Wow. Dude. Damn, I hope they share the death count. Lord. This is like Symphony of Death.
まずは地球の掃除と思って凶悪犯の名前を書き続けた。やがて誰も悪いことができなくなるように。
It's not possible. Light and death are the duality of this world.
道徳のない人間、人に迷惑をかける人間を。そうすれば確実に世界はいい方向に進んでいく。
It's a very black and white thinking. Cognitive distortions. Very all or nothing. Very binary view of this world. Which is also the traits of ASPD.
何を言ってるんだリュウク。僕は日本一と言ってもいいくらいの真面目な優等生だよ。
Very narcissistic and very grandiose. The best, most honorable student in Japan.
新世界の神となる。
Yo, what I say? Savior and God complex are so interesting. Called it. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Also, I'll be analyzing the intro scenes just because I'm starting a new show, and I'm sure there will be many foreshadowing and symbolic interpretation, since that's one of my favorite things to do in anime reaction. So immediately we see Ryuk, from what I researched and heard about. I know he's the god of death, so it makes sense that the anime is starting with him since the get-go. Look at his red eyes. This is very interesting. We see this classic portrait of Ryuk, the god of death, and Light Yagami, the protagonist or the main character. And you notice there's an apple in between them. I think that apple represents Death Note, the very powerful symbol itself. But also, in Judeo-Christian view, what does the apple represent? The fallen of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, where they were outcasted by God after God commanded them to not eat the forbidden fruit. So I think this apple represents one, Death Note itself, but second, the temptation of power, the opening of your mind, and also the moral descendants and the disengagement after he bits into the forbidden fruit of power. In the Bible, that's for Adam and Eve after the temptation, but in this case, it's Light Yagami. Very interesting symbolic interpretation so far. That's Light Yagami. I don't know who that is. Blue hair. Very retro, old school, since this is an old show. Another interesting highlight, it's a cross. Of course, cross typically represents the cross, like Jesus Christ and him dying for the sins, but also the cross here is sort of on the sideways, which could also represent Antichrist, the reverse cross, in a lot of the obviously horror films and satanic representations. So it's very interesting, the juxtapositions of God of Death, Death Note, and this Antichrist or reverse cross. Very interesting. You see Light Yagami walking with an apple with the same representation. We saw a bunch of ravens flying behind Light Yagami in the scene. Now, in a lot of folk lore, ravens represents death, since of course many of them eat after dead animals and so on. Very, very, very good. What did I say? He ate from that apple just as if Adam and Eve ate from the Garden of Eden before they descended into a moral disengagement and bit into the temptation, which is a parallel with what I said earlier with my analysis. Chess piece. I noticed Light Yagami's red eyes, which is this identical red eyes as Ryuk, god of death, which makes sense because I think they make a deal or some sort, or there's a lot of interactions between the two. Yeah, I don't know who that blue hair guy is. Is Light Yagami the antagonist or the protagonist? We can immediately see the foreshadowing of God complex and Savior complex by Light Yagami, even in the introduction scene. Forbidden fruit represents Death Note. Yep, like I said. All right, let's see the outro. All right, we see Light Yagami with the pen, with the glowing red eyes, seeing his psychological and moral transformation. With that power, thirst for power. His eyes are red even when he's laying down in bed next to Death Note. Oh, it's very interesting right now. We see that through the mirror or through the glass, the inside Light Yagami is black and white, colorless. But the Light Yagami across from him through this mirror reflection is red. Of course, red represents blood and death in a lot of cultures and storytelling. So we're seeing this, what I said earlier, there's two different personalities and identities that Light Yagami is starting to formulate. So very interesting. We see doves, which usually represents life, but now ravens represents death. Again, dichotomies, two different personalities and identities. Glowing red eyes like the devil. Alright, so to close out my analysis for the first very strong episode, and I see why so many people recommended Death Note, and why I heard so much great things about Death Note growing up in the 90s. Here's the reason why Light Yagami's approach will never work in real life. Because with his binary, very black and white, all or nothing perspective, this distorted cognitions of the worldview, what he doesn't get is, and what he doesn't think about, is this transformations and the power of change and healing. The reason I work in forensic psychotherapist as a forensic psychotherapist is a lot of people, yes, they commit crimes. Yes, a lot of us make mistakes. Who hasn't? Raise your hands if you have not made a single mistake and if you don't have any regrets, especially when we're in high school and younger. With a lot of traumatic upbringing, lower socioeconomic status, lack of privileges, and so on. Yes, we might commit acts and crimes and go to jail. And of course, there's different degrees of crimes, right? Of course. I'm not talking about sociopathic individuals. I'm just talking about regular people who made a mistake in their life. Many of us, through pro-social rehab, we can learn pro-social skills and we can get better, heal our trauma, because hurts people. So when we work on our brokenness, we inflict less brokenness onto other people. So many of air quote bad people that Light Yagami is killing, they actually have opportunity and chances of reformations and renewal and heal and get better. Of course, we cannot save everyone, and that's not our job. We're not here to save people. We're not saviors. We're not Jesus. We're not gods. But we also can't act as gods and make all these pre-judgmental decisions and deem some people as irredeemable. Who are we who are we to say that? How do we know that? There's many of us who committed mistakes, who learn to get better and end up committing a lot of great deeds for the world. A lot of examples out there. And that's the reason why Light Yagami's approach will never work, and that's why it's fictional. But for the sake of anime reactions, what a powerful start to episode 1. And I think as a forensic psychotherapist, I can really offer a lot of unique perspective, whether it's ASPD, psychological profiling, or other forensic aspects that regular psychotherapists just don't have through my full-time commitment. But with that being said, if you enjoy my analysis, psychological profiling of Light Yagami, and everything in between, can you smash that thumbs up and share this episode with one friend, and make sure you're subscribed, because I'm starting this new series and I'll also be starting Vinland Saga after I finish Freerun, so make sure you don't miss out and turn on the bell notifications. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, peace.